All right, I didn't plan on making a video on this, but I had trouble finding information out there. I had to get the service manual, and even that was not very good. I started by taking the intake off. You basically just have two inlets in the back, one here, one here. The strap for the throttle body, and then you got a bolt here, and then it just pops off these two studs in the back. And you got the mass airflow to disconnect, and of course the screws for the top of the airbox. That comes off. Then the intake, you got a bolt right here. That's a 10 millimeter and it's captive. There's 13 millimeters, there's 8 of these at the top. These 4 recessed holes and the 4 in the back. And the connector for the throttle body, and I think there were a couple other wires, maybe clipped right in here. This lifted straight off, and then there's this little piece here, this insulator. It sits down in this valley, just for noise. That's the next thing that came off. And the big question was whether or not you have to take the fuel rail out, and you really don't. Once you get everything off, what you need to do, there's a big chunk of that insulation foam over here covering all this into the engine. I just had to tear a big chunk out. There's no way to get it out of there. It goes all the way back in the back. To get access to, this is the thermostat right here, the O-ring, and the transfer pipe across to the hose that goes to the radiator. What I'm planning to do is to reuse that transfer pipe, just leave it in the car, change this O-ring, and replace that thermostat. I'll show you the new one over here. This is, I want to say this might even be discontinued by GM. I had to find this on eBay. The shop she took the car to gave up looking for one and told her to come get the car. So I got lucky and found a few of these on eBay. But basically it sits in the car like this. You buy it like this and it's already assembled. So I've already just slipped the pipe out. I'm going to take this O-ring, even though the other one will probably work. I'm going to go ahead and swap it if I can get it in there. Swap the O-ring to the original pipe. There's a bolt right there that holds this in place. So once you get the foam out of the way, you can get this bolt out. And all I did was I wiggled this back and forth. I left the radiator hose on this end here. Just wiggle it back and forth, just enough to pop it out of the thermostat. And that's where we sit right now. I've got it out of there. I'm just letting it continue to leak out the rest of the coolant. And then I'll pull this back. See, I'm going to pull on the other end of the pipe where the hose is and separate it there and pull it back just enough to be able to get the thermostat bolts out, which are right here, this bolt and this bolt right here. Then I can lift the thermostat out, swap it. Comes with a new gasket on it already. Then I can just push the pipe back into it, bolt it down, and I'm done. I think they were going to charge her $600 to do this, and they were probably going to pull everything out. Service manual says if you remove the injectors, you have to rebuild them for whatever reason. So I don't know if that would, pulling the rail here probably wouldn't involve that. I don't even see the injectors right there. This might just be bolted down onto them. I'm not really familiar with this too much, but it seemed like this would be doable, so it looks like it will be. I'm gonna go ahead and get the thermostat out now that it's drained. I pre-drained the cooling system, but still some trapped in this pipe. So as soon as I get this thermostat swapped, I'm gonna put this back in there, bolt it all together, put new gaskets on the intake. I actually bought some gaskets for a couple of pipes over here. It said to remove in the service manual. I may still have to remove those. Those are O-rings. If I don't have to remove those, I won't, but I've got the new O-rings for that. Let's see, I got 6 of these for the intake. Those are actually hard to get right now too. GM's having problems apparently, either COVID or otherwise. And I got this bag. Part number for this O-ring. Here's part number for the intake gasket. And I'll give you the thermostat part number if you want to try to find one of these if you need it. I couldn't find anything aftermarket. Everything was sold out everywhere. So this is what they call the LGX engine, newer design. I think the first part of 2017 they had a thermostat over here, but this is the newer one. And I think I found that was discontinued from GM, and you can't get an aftermarket one right now. Everybody's, I guess, replacing these. It said a P0128 as far as pending code. Nothing was actually, no lights were on except the steering assist. And here's the TSB I got for it. It's only for 2017 for the XT5 and the Acadia LGX engine. It'll set a P0128 for the coolant temp. And since the coolant temp is used for the steering rack, supposedly somewhere in here it tells you that the steering grease is thicker when it's cold, so it boosts the steering a little more when it's cold. But once it can't read the temperature right, or knows the temperature is too cold, it actually pegs the needle down on the gauge all the way to cold, sets this U0401, and says do not replace the rack for that. Take care of the 128, and then you can clear the steering gear code. But she did tell me that the steering assist was disabled on the dash. Check engine light never came on though, and my handheld scanner didn't pick it up, but my Auto Ingenuity GM module did pick up the P0128, so I did find that finally. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this and go back through and clear out. Nothing's really on, but I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can clear what's in the memory now that I've got it. Gonna have it replaced, and I'll show you what I do. Okay, I got it free. I'm just going to work it out of here. The bolt right here comes straight out. This one comes out into this pipe, but once you take this one out over here, you can rock the whole thermostat over, and you have clearance to get that bolt out through here. Next thing is there's actually a little black sleeve on the bolt. The other one stayed in the thermostat, so I'm going to have to make sure I don't lose that. You can see it down inside the hole right there. So the O-rings I bought actually go on these lines that go into the heads. So if I don't have to take those out, I'm not going to. I'm going to try to get everything out without taking those pipes out. Okay, I did have to remove those pipes. The bolt right there, it holds this assembly in. And those O-rings right there I'm going to replace that are on the ends of those pipes. One goes right back in there, that hole. The other one goes in this hole right here. It's a coolant bypass, and I think it goes into this, it goes up into the tank. But this is what it'll look like underneath. When you get the thermostat out, it slipped right out. It's really tight fit, but it came out doing that. So I think I have just enough room maybe to push the pipe back over, replace that O-ring with the new one. And sealing surface looks pretty good. I'm gonna wipe it down on the block there, but I think I can get the O-ring swapped on the pipe, and then I'll swap the O-rings on the transfer or overflow pipe there when I get this hole sealed up, so I don't drop anything in that hole. But I think we're good here. Looks like I do need all the parts I bought, but I'm not gonna have to transfer that coolant pipe, luckily, because it might slide out. It's actually getting really tight. I don't know what's holding it, but even if it would slide out, I think there is room underneath the battery for it to slide out and turn and come out, but there's no reason to take it out. It's not like it's rusted or anything like that, or corroded or leaking or whatever. In this connection here, I won't have to disturb, so that's even better. I'm gonna go ahead and get the all the O-rings swapped and get the thermostat in, and I'll be back. One other quick thing that I'm doing, that O-ring actually has some kind of adhesive on it. You can see that. It's like a red adhesive or paint. I don't know what it's for. I guess just to help it seal better, but I'm taking it off the bore of the new one just in case that's where the seal sits, and it doesn't have a perfectly flat surface to seal against. So I'm wiping it out with lacquer thinner, and it's coming right off. So that's another thing I'm going to do. I'm going to try to get it off the pipe as well, as much as I can. I think we'll be fine. All right, I've got the coolant system filled back up. I checked back in the back here. I don't see any leaks. There's a little bit of water there from me flushing it. It's hard to say. I don't see any of the deck's cool coolant coming out anywhere. I'm just going to drive it and let it continue to dry. Main thing I'm checking now is that the coolant temperature is up. Coolant temp here, I'm up at 201. I've got the short-term bank 1, long-term bank 1 here, and then bank 2 over here. I'm checking to see if I've got a vacuum leak from replacing the intake manifold gaskets. This is pretty much perfect here. Got a little bit of positive long-term right here, but I don't know what it was before. It may be exactly what it was, or even better. Short-term's fine. This is short-term bank 1, long-term bank 1. Short-term 2, long-term 2. This is the only number that's slightly elevated, but it could have been like that. But I'm not adding a lot of short-term, and this is not coming up, so I cleared the codes, and we should be fine. I'm going to drive it, make sure everything seems okay. We got heat in the cabin, so that's good. This number here I couldn't check before because I didn't want the engine to be hot, so I didn't run it to get these baseline numbers. But this is good enough here to leave, and the short term is either 0 or negative, so it's actually pulling a little bit, so we should be fine there. I think everything's good. I let it bleed for a while, then I just put the cap back down tight. I'm gonna drive it for a few miles, make sure everything's good. I don't have anything weird going on, and that'll continue to dry all this, and then I'll let the customer know it's good to go. See you later.